There comes a moment in life, not marked by the ticking of a clock or the rising of the sun, where something inside you breaks. Not your spirit, but your tolerance. Your tolerance for disrespect. Your tolerance for being unseen. Your tolerance for betraying yourself just to be accepted by others. That moment is not weakness. That is the beginning of your self-respect. Self-respect is not earned from the world. It is declared from within. It is the fire that says, no more. No more shrinking to fit places I've outgrown. No more pretending to be less so others feel more. No more tolerating a life that insults my soul. That declaration, silent but powerful, is how you command self-respect instantly. And it does not begin with arrogance. It begins with truth. The truth that for far too long you've handed out pieces of yourself for approval, validation, and temporary peace. You've let people walk through your mind with dirty feet. You've let fear sit at the head of your table. But no more. You command self-respect the moment you remember who you are. In Shaolin philosophy, a principle, the outside is always a reflection of the inside. If the world does not respect you, it is only reflecting that you have forgotten to respect yourself. When your posture slouches with self-doubt, when your words apologize for your existence, when your energy seeks permission, you have already lost, not to others, but to your own forgetting. So the path back is inward. Begin with silence. Sit still. Listen. The noise of the world, there is a voice within you that is calm, clear, and unshakable. That voice is your anchor. It does not shout. It does not beg. It does not explain. It simply knows. And once you start listening to it, stop needing anything from outside to validate your worth. Next, move to your body. Stand tall, not to impress, but to align. Move with intention. Speak with precision. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you are telling your mind, I am someone who deserves respect. When you let your discipline slip, you feel it immediately. That ache inside, that's not guilt. Your inner self asking, why did you betray me? To command self-respect, you must become your own guardian. Set boundaries, not to punish others, but to protect your peace. Say no, not with anger, but with certainty. Walk away, not to prove anything, but to preserve your dignity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You owe yourself the life that honors your truth. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. When you first start living from self-respect, people may say you've changed. They're right. You're no longer available for games, manipulation, or mediocrity. You are now living in alignment. And alignment is rare, but powerful. When your actions match your values, when your words reflect your truth, when your presence radiates peace, you no longer seek respect. You embody it. You are it. Understand this real self. Respect doesn't need to be loud. There's the calm in your eyes, the silence in your decisions, the stillness in your soul. It is when you can be alone and still feel whole. When you stop chasing love because you realize you are love. When you stop needing approval because you approve of yourself. Commanding self-respect is not about dominance. It's not about control. It's about ownership of your time, your energy, your truth. It's not something you practice once. A daily devotion. You wake up and choose to live like you matter. Because you do. Every time you choose to rise above drama, you strengthen it. Every time you keep your word, you build it. Every time you choose purpose over pleasure, growth over comfort, truth over popularity, you are becoming someone the world cannot ignore. And here is the secret: when you stop needing others to respect you, they do. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. They see the strength in your silence, the clarity in your eyes, the unwavering posture of someone who knows who they are. So today, right now, take a breath and return to yourself. Stand tall in your truth. Speak only what aligns. Walk only where you are welcomed. Love deeply, but never at the cost of your dignity. Respect is not commanded with force. It is claimed through presence. Presence of someone who has met themselves fully and refuses to betray that meeting ever again. That someone is you. There comes a point in every person's life when they look in the mirror and realize that the greatest betrayal they've ever known didn't come from the outside world. It came from within. not because of what someone said or what they failed to do, but because they themselves tolerated too much for too long. That moment, though painful, is sacred. It is the starting point of transformation. It is in that very moment that the soul whispers a truth we've avoided for years. You cannot demand respect from others if you have not first given it to yourself. Self-respect is not a gift handed to you by the world. Is not something earned through applause, attention, or validation. It is a decision, a choice you make every single day to honor your own time, your energy, your truth, and your boundaries. Born the moment you stop trying to prove your worth and start living in alignment with it. It is a quiet knowing, a calm presence, and an unwavering standard you set for how you allow yourself to be treated. By others, yes, but most importantly by you. Many people chase respect by trying to control their image. They speak louder, dress sharper, achieve more, hoping it will fill the emptiness inside. But respect doesn't come from noise. It comes from inner stillness, from a place of integrity, from a place where your actions and your values no longer argue with each other. When you are congruent, when what you say, think, and do are in harmony, you radiate a quiet authority that cannot be ignored. People sense it immediately. They don't know why they lean in when you speak. They don't understand why they hesitate before crossing your boundaries. But what they're responding to is your internal clarity. Because when you respect yourself deeply, others learn how to respect you. Not through fear, but through reflection. You become a mirror, showing them how to treat you by how you treat yourself. But how does one begin to command self-respect instantly? It starts not with doing, but with remembering. Remembering that you were never meant to shrink for others. You were never created to be silent in the presence of dishonor. You were never intended to beg for love, for time, or for acknowledgement. You were born worthy, whole, enough. The only reason you feel otherwise is because you've forgotten that truth. And that forgetting happens slowly, through compromises, through silences, through self-abandonment dressed up as patience. So the first step is to stop waiting. Stop waiting for someone to validate your worth. Stop hoping someone else will finally see your value. Stop handing out discounts on your soul just to feel accepted. Choose yourself, without apology, without justification, without shame. Make that decision not once, but every time you're faced with a moment that asks you to trade your integrity for approval. Self-respect is built in the dark, in the silence, in the moments when no one is watching. When you rise early, keep your promises, speak truth even when your voice trembles, and walk away from what doesn't nourish your spirit. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. Being present enough to notice when something feels off. Being honest enough to admit when you're tolerating something beneath you. Being brave enough to correct it. Not tomorrow, but now. There is no timeline to self-respect. It doesn't take years. It takes one moment, one powerful decision to say, I deserve better, and I will no longer abandon myself to make others comfortable. That is the ignition point. That is where fire meets intention. And once that fire is lit within, nothing can extinguish it, because it is no longer dependent on anything external. It is yours, completely. The world may try to test you after that. People may question your boundaries. You may feel guilt, fear, or loneliness at first. But you must understand the temporary discomfort of standing alone is nothing compared to the lifelong suffering of betraying yourself. The more you honor your standards, the more you'll attract what is meant for you: people, opportunities, peace. And more than anything, you will begin to respect yourself, not for what you've achieved, but for who you've become in the process. To command self-respect is not to shout, to force, or to manipulate. It is to stand still in your truth and let everything that cannot meet you there fall away. To walk into every room knowing that you belong, not because someone said so, but because you decided so. And that decision, that inner shift, that quiet declaration to live like you matter. How you command self-respect? Instantly. Self-respect does not need to announce itself. It walks quietly. It shows in the way you breathe, in the way you look people in the eye without hesitation, in the way you sit with a straight spine, even when the room feels heavy. It reveals itself in the decisions you make when no one is watching, and in the things you refuse to tolerate even when doing so costs you something. Respect is not a performance. It is a standard. And once you raise that standard, everything around you starts to shift. One of the most misunderstood ideas about self-respect is that it's about receiving something from others: acknowledgement, admiration, attention. But true respect doesn't originate from outside approval. Originates from inner alignment. When you say yes and mean yes. When you say no and do not flinch. When you walk away not because you want to hurt someone, but because staying would hurt you. Type of clarity creates space around you. Space where chaos cannot enter, where manipulation cannot find purchase, and where self-betrayal has no place to hide. Self-respect demands that you tell the truth, especially to yourself. Something doesn't feel right, don't explain it away. If a situation is draining your spirit, don't justify your tolerance. If you keep lowering your boundaries just to be accepted, realize that what you're being accepted for is not even you. It's a version of you that you've twisted to make others feel more comfortable. But who are you when you're not shrinking? When you stop twisting yourself into shapes that please others? That is the version of you that self-respect was always meant for. There is a quiet power that comes from choosing integrity over comfort. Sometimes it means sitting with loneliness rather than forcing connection. Sometimes it means silence over unnecessary arguments. Sometimes it means walking a path fewer people understand, but one that deeply aligns with your soul. Path isn't glamorous. It's often not loud or praised. But it is deeply fulfilling because it brings peace. And peace is the fruit of a life built on inner truth. You cannot command self-respect if you are constantly negotiating your worth. Every time you explain your boundaries over and over, hoping someone will understand, you are draining the very energy you need to walk in your truth. Set the boundary once and then honor it. Not to control others, but to protect your own alignment. Respect comes when others see that you do not waver from your values for convenience or connection. They may not like it, they will feel it. And the right people, those meant to walk with you, will never ask you to abandon yourself to be loved. The body also remembers respect. Posture, breath, movement, these are not trivial. They are reflections of your internal state. When you move with awareness, when your breath is steady, when your feet are grounded, your body becomes an anchor to your integrity. Train the body and the mind will follow. Discipline is a form of self-respect. When you feed your body with care, when you rise early to strengthen it, when you push through resistance to complete what you started. You are teaching yourself that your well-being matters. Likewise, the words you use with yourself matter deeply. If your internal dialogue is full of criticism, if you speak to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love, then you are building a foundation of self-contempt, not self-respect. Change your words. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend who is trying, learning, growing. Not because you're trying to inflate your ego, but because the quality of your self-talk sets the tone for the respect you invite into your life. Understand this clearly: self-respect is not a singular act, it is a pattern, a way of living. You reinforce it in small moments, daily choices and quiet decisions. Do you keep your promises to yourself? Do you rest when you're exhausted? Or do you grind past your limits because you believe rest is weakness? Do you surround yourself with people who reflect your values or those who require you to lower them? These questions will always reveal where your self-respect stands. There will be days when it's tempting to fall back into old habits. Stay silent, to tolerate things that do not serve you. But you must remember, every time you choose to honor your truth, you are choosing power. And not the kind of power that dominates or manipulates, but the kind of power that stabilizes. The kind that centers you when the world around you is in chaos. That kind of power doesn't need approval. It just is. To command self-respect instantly is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you to doubt your worth. Strip away the noise, the pretending, the layers of self-abandonment. Left is someone strong, grounded, and worthy. Not someday, but now. You've always been enough. Now it's time to act like it. There is a difference between being liked and being respected. Most people spend their lives chasing the former, believing it will bring them peace. They say yes when they mean no. They stay silent when something feels wrong. Bend themselves into smaller shapes to fit into spaces that do not honor them, all in the name of being liked. But what is the cost? It is the erosion of the self, the slow but steady burial of authenticity beneath layers of performance. And when you lose your authenticity, you lose your power. Being respected, on the other hand, does not require that you be liked. It requires that you be true. Respect begins when you stop performing and start standing. When you stop adjusting who you are based on who is in the room. When you walk with the same posture in solitude as you do in a crowd. Not about proving anything to others. It is about refusing to betray yourself. In a world where everyone is trying to fit in, the one who is unafraid to stand alone commands attention. Not because they are louder, because they are real. This type of strength doesn't come overnight. It is forged in difficult moments. In the times you feel unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. In the situations where you are given the choice to either conform or remain in alignment with your values. Every time you choose the latter, even when it's hard, you are building something indestructible within you. That is where self-respect lives, not in comfort but in courage. You command self-respect the moment you understand that not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every person deserves access to your energy. You become discerning. You choose where to give your time. You recognize that energy is not infinite and what you feed will grow. So you stop feeding chaos. Stop feeding people who only know how to take. You stop feeding thoughts that diminish your worth. And in doing so, you start to grow a sense of inner clarity that changes everything around you. Respect is also deeply tied to honesty. Not just the honesty you give others, but the honesty you give yourself. Are you living a life that is truly yours or one that's been shaped by the expectations of others? Are you pursuing goals that align with your inner purpose or ones that look good from the outside but leave you feeling empty inside? Are you being loyal to your truth or to your fear of being judged? These are difficult questions. Asking them and answering them with courage is how self-respect begins to blossom. There is also no avoiding the role of discipline in this process. Self-respect is not just a mindset, it is a practice, a way of being. And practice requires structure, it requires commitment. It asks you to show up when it's inconvenient, to train your body when it's tired, to sharpen your mind when it's dull. Not because someone is watching, but because you are. The moment you begin keeping the promises you make to yourself is the moment your life begins to shift. Not because of the results, but because of who you become in the process. Respect doesn't need to dominate. It doesn't need to intimidate. It simply requires consistency. Consistency in truth, in action, in standards. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You just have to speak from a place of alignment. You don't need to defend your choices when they are made from integrity. Let your silence say what your words cannot. Let your boundaries speak louder than your explanations. And yes, there will be resistance. Anytime you raise your standard, something will try to pull you back down. People will notice the change. Some will feel threatened. Some will accuse you of being selfish, arrogant, or distant. But their discomfort is not your burden. Their confusion is not your problem. Your job is not to make others comfortable with your evolution. Your job is to remain rooted in your truth, even when others don't understand it. Eventually, the world begins to respond to your new frequency. Not immediately, but inevitably. The people who belong in your life will rise to meet you. The opportunities that align with your self-respect will begin to flow. Peace replaces anxiety. Clarity replaces confusion. And most importantly, your relationship with yourself transforms. You no longer need permission to feel whole. You no longer seek outside approval to feel worthy. You are no longer waiting. You are walking, is what it means to command self-respect. Not to wear it like armor, but to live it like breath. Naturally, steadily, without effort. It is not something you earn. It is something you return to the moment you remember who you are. The final shift happens not when others start treating you better, but when you no longer accept being treated poorly. That moment is quiet. There is no dramatic announcement. No celebration. Just a calm, undeniable realization that your dignity is not up for negotiation. Self-respect is not about arrogance. It's not about being above others. It's about refusing to be beneath yourself. When you stop seeking permission to value your time, when you no longer apologize for prioritizing your peace, a new version of you begins to emerge. Not a louder version, not a more aggressive one, but one that is immovable. You no longer explain your boundaries because your energy makes them clear. You no longer justify your choices because your calm confidence speaks louder than your words ever could. Stopped living in reaction to others and started living in alignment with yourself. There is immense power in walking away, not from people, but from versions of yourself that stayed too long in places you had outgrown. The version that tolerated disrespect because it feared loneliness. The version that over-explained because it wanted to be understood. The version that bent backwards trying to make everyone else comfortable while ignoring its own discomfort. That version was trying its best. But now, it's time to grow. Growth requires discomfort. Not the kind that comes from chaos, the kind that comes from discipline. The decision to no longer eat what drains you. The choice to move your body with care, even when you don't feel like it. The daily practice of mindfulness so that your mind no longer controls you. You guide it. These habits, though simple, are sacred. They build self-respect in layers. And layer by layer, your foundation becomes unshakable. A moment each morning, before the world asks for anything from you, where you get to decide what kind of day you'll live. Will it be led by reaction or intention? Will you scroll through distraction or sit in stillness? Will you run from the silence or will you meet it with presence? These small choices either water the seed of self-respect or starve it. Choose wisely, not once, but every day, because what you repeat becomes who you are. People often ask how they can make others respect them. The truth is you cannot make anyone respect you, but you can make it impossible for them not to. How? By embodying what you expect. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you constantly break your own word, others will do the same. If you ignore your needs, others will too. But if you hold yourself to a higher standard, not in ego, in clarity, others will rise or fall. Either way, you remain grounded. This is not about control, it's about alignment. You're not controlling people, you're controlling your space. You're choosing what enters and what exits. You're curating a life that reflects your worth, not just decorates your insecurities. The difference is subtle but powerful. It means you no longer chase, you attract. You no longer prove, you embody, and you no longer settle. There will be people who don't understand this shift. That's okay. Some will say you've changed. And they're right. You've remembered. You've remembered that you are not here to please everyone. You are not here to shrink, to be manageable, or to be agreeable at the expense of your spirit. You are here to live truthfully. And sometimes the price of truth is the loss of people who preferred your mask. Let them go. Let what is false fall away. Let what no longer honors you fall from your hands. You don't need to grip what hurts you. You don't need to chase what avoids you. You don't need to tolerate what drains you. The more you let go, the lighter you become. And in that lightness, you remember self-respect is freedom. The freedom to walk away. The freedom to say no. The freedom to rest. The freedom to rise. The freedom to be fully, unapologetically you. And here's the beautiful irony. When you begin living this way, the world begins to respond. Not all at once, but steadily. The people who once ignored your boundaries disappear. The spaces that once drained you no longer appeal to you. Opportunities that felt forced are replaced by ones that flow naturally into your life. You stop swimming against the current of your own truth, and instead, you begin to move with the rhythm of your inner alignment. It isn't magic, it's not luck, it's not even mystery, it's cause and effect. What you embody, you attract. What you tolerate, you invite. What you honor, you amplify. And when you live from a place of self-respect, everything that no longer serves you loses its grip on your life. That is not coincidence. That is power. You don't need to wait years for it. You don't need to beg anyone for it. You don't need to earn it with titles, wealth, or recognition. You can command it right now by remembering who you are, by refusing to abandon yourself, and by making the most important decision of all, to live as if your worth is not up for debate. Because it never was. In the end, commanding self-respect is not a singular moment of triumph. It is not a loud declaration or a dramatic transformation. It is quiet, it is consistent, it is earned in the dark, in the silence, in the hours when no one is watching. In the way you carry yourself when you are tired but still choose discipline. It is in the choices you make when your emotions want chaos, but your values demand peace. It is in the countless, invisible moments when you choose not what is easy, but what is right. Self-respect is not for the faint of heart. It demands sacrifice. You will lose people. You will disappoint others. You will be misunderstood. But none of that will compare to what you gain, a relationship with yourself that cannot be broken. When you begin to stand tall within, you stop depending on external structures to hold you up. You become your own foundation. And once that happens, no storm can truly shake you. So ask yourself this: are you tired of seeking validation from a world that does not know your soul? Are you exhausted from betraying your own needs just to keep the peace? Are you ready to finally live in alignment with the person you were born to be rather than the one others want you to become? Because if the answer is yes, then understand this: your time has come. It's not about being better than anyone else. This is about no longer being lesser than yourself. This is about rising to your own potential, not in arrogance, but in reverence. Reverence for the life you've been given. Reverence for the body that carries you. Reverence for the heart that keeps beating, even when it's been broken. And reverence for the mind that, despite noise, fear, and doubt, continues to reach for something greater. From this day forward, let your decisions reflect your worth. Don't just talk about self-respect. Live it. Embody it. Let it shine through your presence before you even speak a word. Let it be seen in the boundaries you hold, standards you raise, and the love you give, starting with yourself. You do not need to be harsh. You do not need to fight. You simply need to remember that respect is not demanded. It is commanded. And it is commanded through your behavior, your discipline, your silence, and your choices. There will be temptations to go back, to lower your standards, to doubt your value. Life will test you. But remember, are not meant to break you, they are meant to reveal you. And what they reveal when you are aligned is strength. Not the kind that crushes others, but the kind that carries you. The kind that walks through fire without burning. It is made of something deeper than ego. It is made of truth. Truth that you are not here to be ordinary. You are not here to survive day by day. You are not here to live a life that feels borrowed or borrowed time. You are here to command every moment with presence, to walk into rooms without shrinking, to speak without apologizing, to stand without trembling, to lead without a crown and still be followed. You are here to embody what it means to be whole. And wholeness doesn't come from perfection. It comes from integration, from accepting your flaws and still choosing to rise, from forgiving your past and still believing in your future, from facing your fears and still stepping forward anyway. When you are whole, you are unstoppable, not because of force, but because of peace. The kind of peace that comes from no longer abandoning yourself. That kind of peace is rare. That kind of peace is powerful. So today, the invitation is simple: return to yourself. Drop the weight of people pleasing. Drop the habit of shrinking. Drop the story that you are not enough. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not unworthy. You are simply becoming, and becoming takes time. It takes intention. And most of all, it takes truth, your truth. And when you live in truth, everything changes. You speak differently. You move differently. You attract differently. You no longer chase people who don't see your value. You no longer settle for environments that don't challenge you to grow. You no longer tolerate situations that compromise your integrity. You become a mirror for what others need to become, but only if they are willing. You no longer try to be liked. You choose to be respected, first by yourself, then, naturally, by others. Is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. A beginning where your presence carries weight, not because you shout, but because you are rooted. A beginning where your actions inspire, not through words, but through clarity. A beginning where you are no longer invisible to yourself. Commanding self-respect is not about convincing the world you matter. It's about living like you already do. And when you do that, the world has no choice but to follow.